I get the connection to an eclipse, but now how are we in alchemy?
He's saying that the word corona works on multiple symbolic levels.
What if the Earth is shaped like a pierogi?
8 seconds is the standard attention span now.
Did you say 8 seconds?
Yeah, it used to be several minutes, and now it's 8 seconds.
Mine is probably like 5 seconds.
4, 8, 7, and 5 describe the physical world.
The 1969 moon landing was staged by NASA to win.
I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna let you finish, but I'm gonna stop you right there.
Is Jeff even real? Maybe he's a figment of Nathan's imagination. Maybe he's an advanced artificial intelligence. Will we ever know?
It's so weird. It's like broke me up into 4 different quadrants. It's like I have some...
You could have here in Hebrew 666 on the can. But my interest is the word monster. What do you see in the O?
Okay.
What has Christ got to do with an energy drink, let alone big can? In fact, they write it on the side of the can, so I know that's the F word.
Okay.
Now, do you know what a MILF is? Yes. And then the Bible talks about the beast in Revelation and Leviticus. So can Satan. And look at it this way. When the cross goes upside down.
Is that true?
Yep.
Whoops. See right there.
And take another good look at the newest Hollywood sweetheart Jennifer Lawrence, who bears an uncanny resemblance to her.
I don't really see it.
Several Illuminati celebrities have been exposed on the internet as doppelgangers of ancient personalities. What started as exclusive
In high school.
Light disguise can be something as simple as a wig, maybe. One of the series of photographs of when I met George H.W. Bush in the Oval Office and revealed to him that I was briefing him wearing a mask. With women, you have one extra step that you could turn a woman. I would mention that it's almost...
I know there's a strategy. I know you're coming back with reinforcements, something. I know there's a plan.
There is no plan.
We designed the damn thing, didn't we?
We waited in the first booster rocket to separate. Splash down back in the Atlantic just as planned. We ain't.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that.
Whether you are doing lockdowns or all of these, they are into it, like on the smart, actually actively pulling ourselves out of the matrix.
Right.
I think we get along good, and it's no accident that we're like walking automatons because they're being blasted. The pieces they're testing for, yep, they're there, and you can look at other journal papers and test for pieces, and they're there. See, there's a lot of easy explanations, like too easy. It seems to me like that what would happen there would have been happening here, right? And we didn't see it. Like what? Anyway, I didn't believe the videos. I think what hackers, and we see stuff on the internet. But, so those other 2 topics that you had, the Monster Energy drink and the 19, starting to think that Satanism is really something to dangle away from people to deviate them from looking into the idea. Whereas the demiurge kind of see, you know, once you see more things in a moral relativistic lens, Satanism is really just deconstruction. You watch on the World Economic Forum, why do they show you that stuff? Well, they show you that stuff because they're...
What you were going to do to them, the sin is not all bad it is. That is why pre-programming exists.
Or a farmer a carpenter, a mechanic, a shopkeeper, a doctor, an engineer or a scientist, a musician or a magician, electrician, a fisherman, a cook, or even a driver. Everyone needs mathematics in their day-to-day life. For existence, or I might say, our universe, our very reality, is made of math. This energy...
Interior... Have you looked at...
Well, okay, good.
Well, 9 doubled becomes 18. 18 doubled is 30.
After thinking for a while on how to best disseminate the information I received,
little boy in turn come up and...
We had dozens of young kids aging from 9 to 14 years old.
But when Officer Wedger, quote, dug too deep...
Warning you now, you must back up.
...are consistently inspirational, influential, and iconic. This is true. But it's also true that recently, a new range of theories have begun to emerge, showing a different side to the Hollywood actor. Many of the claims are unfounded and nonsensical. I'm not saying they're all bullshit, but as I did with part 1, no theories will be given, just information and context. So one reason some have recently changed their perspective of Hanks.
Yeah, Tom Hanks. Tom fucking Hanks, guys, because I like to stay alive. A dead man switch is basically it's like, if you die, then like stuff happens, okay? Like information goes out. They can try to kill me. You know, good luck with that.
Many expected Cappy...
He supposedly committed suicide.
Yeah. Right. I won't hurt you either.
Anyway,
and this also ties into that this BH thing was from the first Pedogate video where BH Kids was.
Was discovered.
Been infused with the naturally occurring chemicals within children.
Yeah. And, you know, what better time to have a dose than during election time when you have to make a lot of public appearances?
Yeah, you have to look like you're...
Johnny Depp, a photo taken 39 years of age. Please zoom in on it. Today he's 51 years old. As if he never aged, right? The King of England, here, the Pope, even he used it. In all of them, you'll see blue marks from time to time on some stock photo. It's a side effect of the injection. And now this picture, like a slap in the face this picture. When you take it from the children, they must be put in a state of anxiety. Children are tortured, and at the moment of death, the blood is taken from the children, and this is processed into medicine. This has been illegal. Do you know how many were the famous WikiLeaks documents? In 2013, the serum was banned in America. All companies that had even planned production got a ban. But we see that it is still being sold.
Speed for this, sorry. Strange that he would pick this as a symbol for Cardi B and WAP, and it's just songs. No way. That one sounded like monkeys on a keyboard to me.
Yeah. Look at the symbolism on this stuff.
Yeah, that is
all seeing eye.
Blatant. Yeah. Yeah. That is. Whoops. That was a reverse recording. Definitely.
This way, it creates around the outside.
Huh.
So it's kind of, it represents both the interior and the exterior.
Yeah. So there's lots for us to work with in the future there. And this was getting so much traction online, and it's that didn't take off. That I would suspect she used to be some sort of. Then she kind of like. You know, she put out this video about whatever conspiracy, took off, it went viral, and so now she's the conspiracy.
Watching the conspiracy video, everyone is...
Jadar's pretty good.
Deus ex machina. The greatest problem since antiquity was that machines were bulky and took up too much space to be convincing. As time moved on and technology...
Suggesting that a 3-foot tall...
The Vatican. If you still don't believe me and are still asleep, in the video game documentary based on a true story, Assassin's Creed 2. Does this look like something a person could do?
That's loading. Let's see here.
Let's just keep watching again.
To figure out what the future were.
2001, July of 2001, just a few months before 9/11.
I don't know.
Biologicals take down critical infrastructure.
Pause.
CNN, of course, is the network, the news media network, propaganda machine. Are too large, humans are too heavy, too tender, logistical trains, meaning we cost way too much money to maintain, and humans involved are the U.S. Air Force, DARPA, the CIA of Defense, and other agencies. This is the
after next stuff, the timeline for having a conflict. They're
right, so this is what they're predicting combat to look like in 2025.
Yeah, it says.
So whenever they tell us that this is they say it's a completely new type of warfare, and it is legal. Stop looking for more verifiable proof that people are becoming sick. This is the goal. This is the absolute goal. It's incarceration, it is enslavement, and it is depopulation. Document, it's on our website. This lays out, it's an operations, research, and technical.
About the conspiracy itself. This is a war against the people, and this you've got a hold of those
into the atmosphere.
Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of
changing the planet single-handedly. This is not just over his yard in Seattle. This is over your yard. Get dirtier and no one notices. Michael, it's great to see you tonight.
Thanks for having me.
One day, I found a portal and ended up someplace I could have never imagined. Okay, well, I totally have imagined it. But this is even better. This is the Boiling Isles, and it's amazing. The kind of place you just want to wake up.
Is the two snakes coiled around? Yeah.
Good call. Yeah.
A cutie pie. I am not
Demons are cute.
your cutie pie. Yes, you are. Oh, and Ida the Owl Lady. Beep. Look, I even got an A+. So that's the aisle.
Whoever uploaded this probably isn't the one who.
So many times outside the International Space Station, we can see air bubbles rise.
Their fault though. The propaganda is rampant. MTV even uses it for movies. Show with Bill Nye. Looking good, Buzz, looking good. Special club at Disneyland called Club 33. And if that wasn't enough, Walt Disney helped found NASA along with Werner von Braun, L. Ron Hubbard, and Jack Parsons. And brainwashing to believe in things that have not and cannot be proven. They want us to believe that Earth is the result of an accidental. We're told that we live on a rock, we can be destroyed.
What I perspective of the people who are planning the 2012, they're choreographing the whole thing. Why would they conceptually come up with such a bad idea? It seems so dumb. Like, let's have this big... Here's the premise of the little kids being chased around by goblins. It's like, that to me is the weirdest thing. It's very... It could be that Boris Johnson just sort of looks like a caricature of a British person. I think what that is it's the portion that covers the dome. It'd make giants. I can buy that this is predictive programming. See here.
We have the flag operation, concoct all kinds of false media to change, and if you tell anyone about this project, it will finance.
But why now? Why is the government releasing all this info? We have COVID-19, riots in multiple cities across America, growing civil unrest, and some say we're
going.
Well, it's simple really. and former President Ronald Reagan has and it proves that these UFOs are not piloted by so-called space aliens, but rather what we would call fallen angels. In fact, the Bible talks about a great end times deception involving UFOs, but we'll get into that a little later in this video. Right now, we're going to take a look at some of the latest articles coming out on this matter of propaganda material such as Ancient Aliens and the like, S4, and his job was to try and reverse engineer these off-world vehicles and try and figure out how they worked. There was a decades-long drama surrounding Bob Lazar and his story, but many people tells us about a time like this, a time long ago filled with high technology, genetic manipulation, sorcery, and wickedness. We refer to this time
artificial extraterrestrial threat to this. One of the first documents that I found, it has been hotly argued that such a menace would offer the last best hope of peace, etc., by uniting mankind against the danger of destruction by creatures from mental pollution, however severe, will be sufficiently menacing on a global scale to offer a possible basis for integration. It is more probable, in our judgment, that such a threat will have to be invented rather than developed from unknown conditions.
You know, like something like fallen angels would appear as aliens to us, right? Quite possibly.
Exactly, yeah.
Don't know which enemy to believe is real or is false.
And it may not even be that there's any, like, there's nothing there.
Or whether to just toss them all out from their ears. And I think that that is probably going to be the best solution. Disarmament is no accident. There's no accident, as you just heard. Things were planned many, many years ago. All the with movies about flying saucers in the 50s, right after the United Nations Treaty was signed and the UN Participation Act, Congress, and all of the incidents being promulgated to give us an artificial Earth. Now, you people out there have this all the...
It's just a library of videos from kind of corner of the internet. Just in case any videos get deleted, there's going to be backup links. So you can always find. And we're going to do some playlists eventually. So we're trying to build something that's anti-censorship. Iron Age Archive.
Very smart.
With the idea. I'm not going to go through all those here, relax. It's the one that's being very much abused by, turns out, as kings. So if you study the history of secret writing or cryptography, you'll discover it really has its roots among ancient rabbis in ancient Israel, and it's traceable through the courts of Europe as they invent better and more sophisticated codes, leaning on their insights. And because the codes got so sophisticated in World War II, it's interesting that those same computers have now allowed us to rediscover the very things that the rabbis knew thousands of years ago. And so it's a very fascinating study. But let me just give you one example to give you a flavor of this. It's a square of 7. Okay, that's fine. That's not too surprising, but just a coincidence, of course. Or is it?
It does kind of go somewhere in our unconscious mind, or it.
Miss Rivers, how are you? You made a ton of news officiating the wedding in New York yesterday. Is this like?
You know, Michelle is a trans.
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. It's okay.
Sure, they'll zoom in and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
My parody. This is a bag of worms, hey? So, okay, I guess has these symbols, all these things too, is we're promoting it because...
And I think in that way, it's a good way if...
There's so much in here that I've never heard of. Something like MK Ultra. Manuals, people were very elaborate.
Watch that.
False flag terror attacks. Up on some platforms. It sounds like we're still on. Sorry, you were saying that for most people it's more deeper, but this is actually a hierarchy or a power structure. So you have what's kind of like interfacing with the public.
Yeah.
And then you have the people who are actually pulling it off, the people who manage the matrix.
Yeah.
The people who actually control that facade. That's the next layer. Those entities, like, for instance, George Soros, they're bringing, understand, but this is a person trying to create a sort of graphical
kind of this,
right?
And so this
graphic is that. So there's
yeah, which also benefits Big Pharma in other ways in the long run.
This terrible disaster.
In the 1985 classic Back to the Future, at a scene called the Twin Pines Mall, Twin Towers film has the exact same release date. He seals it shut, intending for it to remain hidden without a terrorist attack.
What's the meaning of this? What's with the wire? What's with
the wire.
Transdimensional portal, pointing to 9/11 as the archetype of touching the 2001 monolith portrayed on the screen. Monolith, the movie screen. Humanity's mass tuning into the 9/11 amalgamation. He makes changes, relinquishes the monopolization of its power, removing the smoke from the screen and train with Hill Valley's recreation of the courthouse clock tower. Motorcade. Journey via death happened upon then King JFK. A severed head of JFK is seeking a UFO during.
We used to think it was just atoms, and then it was protons and neutrons and electrons. Now we have quarks and gluons and all that stuff. And then we get bigger and bigger things. So
to me, that there is a level of this that we're in that's a choose your own adventure type of dream.
Right.
And so like you had said, Nate, that the more you resonate with the stuff or look into it, the more it actually starts manifesting in your life. And that's true for me too. Like in my
opposite of that with lines. Every time I have to choose a line, my superpower is that I always pick the wrong one. I pick the line that takes the longest. I have to pick this line, or this line. I guess this one looks like it's so there's that. Also, I had this friend with me back as I would walk by, stick up my hand, and every so often someone would high five.
I think this is some like rediscovery of dormant blood magic that's just existed in humans.
I mean, you could do that with anyone, but I'm like, why not do it to myself now?
That's right. If you can distinguish
crazy too. Right.
For me, that just kind of translates to being charitable.
Yeah, let's call it there. You guys can look forward to the show next week. The topics will be a mystery, so spooky. See you guys later.
Thanks, Nate.
We're started. Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome to another. We'll leave it. I'm super insecure about my mic right now because I realize that the quality isn't the greatest. But
okay.
I used to have a lot of problems with it before, but then I thought I fixed it, and none of the viewers sent anything in, so that's a little bit unfortunate. But you don't just watch the show; it gives you homework. Yeah. So that's the sort of first layer that you have, brings you up to. Eventually, out of that, it's like that's basically how we ended up with Trump.
This need to kind of categorize everybody.
Yes. So
reset comes pretty soon after COVID hits.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of that the book that I put in the image beside the Great Reset is a book from Zbigniew Brzezinski.
This is an interesting kind of conclusion. Do you want to go and?
Yeah. So it really starts off as like a pop conspiracy thing where it's like there's layers and layers of deep symbolic and spiritual aspects to this.
Yes. So these would be the sort of not have certain things figured out, but they're next.
There's a psyop that the Freemasons. I don't know if it's actually a deliberate psyop, but there's.
I would just be like, something whole thing. Dollar.
Bush was once asked about. How when we do the Super Mario video.
That too, yeah. So after I get through the sort of basic level of sort of childlike sources or whatever, somewhere during your chart, so that was that phase there. So we went from basic to informed, and then this is anecdotal experience. So these are things that there's a realm here, the informed realm. You can say that, well, this is just a matter of interpreting the data differently, but this is much harder to kind of shake loose because, again, these are things that I've seen. So we start out with, government policies are going on.
Yeah.
So I started to notice that trend, hiring the statistics that they were, So that was pretty informative. Somewhere over here, experiences that I've encountered that sort of affirm the previous stages. And then we have the final, which is the current. And in some ways, you could say that this deals more with the philosophical end of it. Some of this is people would engage in the behaviors that justify everything before it is occurring. We started to learn about spirit cooking, and it's or whatever. Then somewhere along the way, I have the media is and then, you know, we start to learn about foreskin.
Let's test it on 3 examples. Number 1. There's an easy cure for cancer, but it's withheld because it would destroy the profits of fun. Do really rich and powerful people ignore the soon-to-be upon us and very imminent apocalypse? Yes. The world will not end soon. This obviously doesn't work for every conspiracy theory. This obviously doesn't work
I lost
for
you there,
every
so
conspiracy theory.
I couldn't.
Does work for some of the most stupid ones. Maybe be a bit more selective about your friends on Facebook.
Well, pause. Hold on. They do put fluoride.
Watergate, for instance, turned out to be real. The CIA really was giving LSD. Pattern detection is hardwired into our brains. Some researchers think it evolved as our ancestors foraged for resources that tended to clump together. It also helps us avoid danger. Last time you smelled this funky odor, you got food poisoning, so maybe you shouldn't eat. Plenty of research to back this up. We know that people see hot streaks in sports that aren't there, and that gamblers are more likely to see patterns in random sequences than other people, and that something that's easier to mentally process can stop feeling. And when subjects read an article that argued for a conspiracy theory, they were more likely to believe it might be because we don't like uncertainty. Studies have shown again and again that we're more comfortable with events that are predictable and controllable. So researchers think theories to make sense of complex or upsetting events that don't seem to have a good enough explanation. If something is too theories to make sense of complex or upsetting events that don't seem to have a human brains work the way they do, you can go to YouTube.
So again, some of the things that he was bringing up.
Because I will admit that I am kind of a pattern seeker. I'm very
there, and it's become so broad. The one thing that I would say as well is in terms of what we've seen over the can't be understated, and the intersection between disinformation, conspiracy theories that are often not in neat little boxes. That's why I want to bring you to this graphic that was
explain our worldview. It's that we do have to connect all of these dots.
Many messages that people are trying to push out there that can be really dangerous that you mightn't be able to pick.
How much energy is that consuming?
Yeah.
Online, be that disinformation.
Michael Koo.
Anyway, so my goal, like I say, my goal is to fight a whole bunch of people consecutively, one after another after another.
Yeah. In jiu-jitsu, when you rank up
North America up until now, you could say is, you know, a person goes to school.
Evelyn once bluntly described the true purpose to alter one's mind. It's a sacred drama in which you are the audience as well. The mechanics of change, and yet still, new patterns of thought, of significance, are drummed in. Consciousness must also be taken. A token of submission, whether dramatically overt or deceitfully subtle, the ritual reinterprets.
Change us, or how it should change us.
This is the
We're waking up to the new normal.
Let's take a look at some of the symbols we can see here. The world of polarized opposites designed for the tiles can be found in Masonic halls. The red carpet refers to the Royal Arc Mason. Mercury in studies of alchemy is known to represent movement, fluidity, flux, and transformation. Although, it makes more sense to look at the god Mercury. Instead of conquering an obstacle, you should instead subdue to it. Now, where can Mario go after entering the castle? Straight to Bob-omb Battlefield. This is a trial that has Mario climbing a spiraling mountain to reach a regal figure that embodies divinity. So what do we find at the top of the mountain? King Bob-omb. The owl can drop you into a caged eye. Speaking of the American dollar bill, does nobody else see what I'm seeing? Nobody else think that this is malicious in some way? It's whatever. Being put into a coffin and enacting your own, this one's a little different. So Mario descends into the sunken pirate. Mario definitely doesn't start in the water in this level. That's all we needed to discuss here, so let's move on to Cool Mountain. Now, if you go to the left of this statue, you'll find Big Boo. It'll drop a cage that you can jump into it if you defeat, or having to swim inside the sunken ship is a form of this death ritual. It is decreed that one shall pound the pillars. From here, let's make our way to Hazy Maze Cave, which is another place filled with death and rebirth symbolism. To enter, you must jump like Quicksilver, aka Mercury. Speaking of Mercury, when Mario picks up the winged cap, he becomes the god Mercury. Now off to Lethal Lava Land, which represents hell. The eyeballs are back, and now there are horned enemies too. Horned devils, if you will. There's a volcano that you have to throw yourself into, which is noted as classic MK Ultra style imagery to Dire Docks. Just watch out for the apparition. Once you've beaten Bowser and taken the key, you can make your way to the second level of. Either way, Mario is circumambulating.
Right about that. This whole Twitter account is dedicated to cross-referencing Alex Jones's, and this is something that we've been recently too, is that it's not a matter of whether or not you're right or wrong. It's a matter of whether you're right at the
heart of the interweavings of Pentagon. In fact, it was Eisenhower who warned of the military-industrial complex, had in mind the RAND Corporation. Now, if you saw my other video that I did talking Pentagon's Brain by Annie Jacobson, you'll know that this book is about the history of the RAND Corporation in Grove, and they would be directly from connected. The reason that RAND is important, though, is because I care of selling ideas like the Desert Storm as something that would be a 24-hour reality TV presentation. The RAND Corporation is an example of the creation of the military-industrial complex, or the Pentagon, in terms of the welfare state, the war on poverty, are ideas that come out of the RAND Corporation. It was propped up by the CIA. And this is even admitted here in Obey, as Curtis LeMay also partaking in that.
Anyway, so let's start with this.
Much lower than the average person.
Yes. There's Family Guy had this one little clip that was just, it'll be too long for me to find it, but
I think there's something to be said about disenfranchised or
wouldn't require us to believe it along with you. And what they can't appreciate is that when they require us, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and I think more broadly, the right wing as a whole, even
or an ideology or anything other than the truth, is just anti-Christian.
And it became a right wing, right wing safe haven by globalism as well.
Right. Okay, so the next is radicalization, mainstream right wing. So then we go into a security concern. Transphobia is and then her final one is, okay, so then sources.
So tell me, why do you want to sterilize kids?
Pardon?
Why do you want to sterilize kids?
I don't want. I think that people...
Getting sterilized? Kids are getting sterilized because of this? Are you aware of that?
I understand that.
Oh, it's all on my website.
Show me where it's happening, buddy.
Go to billboardchris.com. Are you aware that girls after about 5 years on testosterone
there's a lot of propaganda going around everywhere.
Well, it's not propaganda.
There's a lot of propaganda
what do you
going
think happens
around
when you
everywhere.
block puberty in a child? Primarily girls, now presenting with gender dysphoria.
You tell me.
Okay, I will tell you.
And you're gonna have to start citing references in regards to this. If
all
you
my
want to start
references are
talking
on my
psychological
website.
aspects to it, you're gonna have to start citing references. There's pseudoscience in absolutely everything right now, honey, including climate
And we're telling
science.
girls that are
So,
tomboys.
It's impossible for them to approach these things without and then to just show the person who hires is referencing the SF. It says in this article too that
he's pinwheeling, he's whirligigging, he's helicoptering, he's flapping his wings right stuff in this article. I went through and I just highlighted every little linguistic maneuver. They're taking the truth and altering the word and making it mean something completely differently while covering their ass. Here's the truth. I think I'll pick one. I'll pick one little word and make it go of a flourish, more ridiculous. So you think they're raping kids wearing top hats? Yeah, right. Wayfair now joins. So in your head, I want you to imagine two things. I want you to imagine Wayfair cabinets, fishy. What's up with this? What's going on? Why are they priced so high? Why do they have names of previous unsubstantiated allegation? That sounds like something I don't even want to waste my time with. The fishy thing is now joining that. It's joining it. It's now joining it. So you don't need unsubstantiated allegations. And then the word unsubstantiated. And I love it's one allegation. Pizzagate, I remember Pizzagate. That was that one unsubstantiated allegation. You're out of your mind.
Let people... I'm kind of like the popular guy on campus. 2012. I do solemnly... Mom. I turned the camera off, Mom. It's off. Mom, it's off.
he's a member of $1 Million Extreme as well.
Boy.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, can we've seen some great comedy tonight. I think we saw some really cool stuff. I personally have never seen anything quite as cool as right now.
Sam Hyde. I'm an important thinker. I'm a creator, innovator, artist. Globe. Studies show that we work hard. It's true. Everybody in this room is a hard worker. You're a hard worker. Are we going to put it on an island? Are we going to make it somebody else's problem? Or are we going to take the initiative? Super fuel efficient vehicles getting 80, 100 miles things. Now, due to some fluke, about 3% of the population. So we looked at the data.
make me sick sometimes. SodaStream will do for soda what 3D printing did for assault rifles. Right here.
Roger Cheeto here. Worried parents? We knew we had to dig deep and get the development.
Go to Kroger, get a gallon of milk. A gallon a day, do my uppercuts. An Atlas stone. You can't just keep doing the same thing. You gotta invent new ways of working.
Welcome back to the wall shop.
You're really letting me down, man. You're a fucking cracker, Joe. I'm gonna start calling you Cracker Joe.
First and foremost about my children. I love them and sit on the sideline.
Oh my god. I'm sure it's someone's stuff.
Oh, do you need a strange backpack? I'm sorry.
I thought it was a Trump supporter who left that back. Respectful. Everybody nice and comfy in here. Excuse me, miss. Can I talk to you about this for a minute? No, you raise that awareness to sort of erase the damage that they've all done. And this guy doesn't even know anything about his own people.
You shouldn't have brought me here, because you knew I was going to freak you.
Of men in the minds of a
mission is to finish the fight. Might cost our lives, might cost our Sam. But what the hell is a war without a mission? What is it? This is a warrior
briefing. It just says one thing.
Some sort of story that they were telling. They're, you know.
We are the spirit of freedom.
Our allegiance is to truth and justice.
You are blind. What do you see? Divided by your inability to say. Divided by your inability to say.
Authority, tradition, and dogma.
California, nuclear. I was dating this perfect girl, but she wouldn't listen to me about the
Brazilian.
She wouldn't listen to me. I tried telling her about Rothschild and
Brazilian
lineage going back 6,000 years and how it's a blood feud. I gave her a reading list of Hitler books, and she only read half of one of them. And then she stopped. I want a perfect wife.
Is that the France?
Yeah, I think wine's for. And I always thought about France during the. I really don't like Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, me neither.
And I disapprove of what he did. Adolf Hitler chose me to lead the revolution. I use a combination of lies, manipulation, my thumb where I want them. You cannot say no to somebody in that position like Hitler.
And the second thing is that they're also protecting the hive because they can't let Hollywood fall. That's
some people starting to dig their hooks into you. Yeah, Jeff, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Just decided to take on to says Jan 6th ruined DLive. That was the event. That was when they
the church has been in some ways subverted by the globalists. So that's what
I'm gonna watch this. Maybe I'll address that one physically. I kind of treat religion the same way, where it's like you can create these sort of. I've been going to related to vaccines. One of their employees,
as if they are God. The book of the Christian Quarter, Jewish people. And of course, the Temple Mount today is held as the third holy site in the world for the Muslims. So you're watching a holy site. If you are Christians, it doesn't matter where you're from, you're Catholic.
We know that the first... It's the glory that glues us together, not the doctrines.
Doctrine is important. Don't let anyone teach something that is contrary to the doctrine that you have learned. Stay away from them. In other words, you'll never be accepted. You'll never be the world's religion. You'll never be embraced by the entire universe.
that is kind of that's pretty close to the line.
Okay, here we go. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Ready?
So, did you notice? And then when he comes around, if we can stop it at the right time. So, those sort of...
Alex Jones's operation is in South Vietnam, where he authored a tract entitled Diablicon. In this tract wrote Temple of the Fourth Degree. According to the scholars, Aquino had become LaVey's right-hand man. He nevertheless developed concerns about the Church of Satan, feeling that it had attracted many, quote, fad followers, egomaniacs of regional groups or grottos, and declared that in the future all degrees would be given in exchange for financial or other contributions to the 10th, 1975. While LaVey seemed to have a pragmatic, practical view of the degrees of the satanic priesthood in 1975, Satan appeared to him and revealed that he wanted to be known by his true name, Set, which by night makes reference to the Book of the Law, produced by the occultist Aleister Crowley in 1904, which provides the vital core of all the projects we undertake at the Disinformation Company.
The first time I really started to, like, I guess, take magic seriously.
Late night or later programming block in the UK. Channel 4 is synonymous with Jones was with Ronson when he did this. They both made 2 separate films on the club, featuring each other in the films. Rogan and Jones are still connected to...
I swear to God, I will make fun of that crap to the end of time. I'll make up stories. I'll lie to my mind.
And guiding the mainstream conspiracy, an active opponent of SRA and author of Blasphemous Rumors, a book on the topic. Beyond Belief featured reference to both law enforcement agencies and the opinions of medical experts, as well as an interview with the now debunked cult survivor, Jennifer, who claimed men having ritual symbols carved into his flesh, a naked woman tied in rope, and an apparent abortion and involved in a violent sexual act. These sequences are interposed with shots of explicit sex, human skulls, and satanic symbols. However, the footage turned out to have been P. Ordrich, who are the forefront of techno-paganism that underlies the philosophy of transhumanism. TOPY are an offshoot of the Illuminates of Thantaros, a society devoted to British cinema, as an element of various performances. Paul and the Libertarian Party. As we enter these closing years of the roaring 20th century, we're going to see personal...
I'm glad you said that, because I wasn't sure if it was just me in the state that I'm in right now, but I have to say, I really appreciate how involved the chats were this stream. We're tacking on Discord calls. The problem right now is...
And funny enough, I had friends over
the Chris Dorner spree occurred. Do you remember Manhunt? They found this vehicle that is the same vehicle as Chris Dorner, and they just had to go through sort of like remedial training. Eventually they internet parody videos. So this is Duke Nukem with Chris Dorner down here shooting police officers, and this is like a mod level that someone made, Chris Dorner's final stand, and weird sort of pseudo folk hero in certain circles. Kind of like, I guess, Ted Kaczynski or worse, and some of it is sort of a joke. I don't know how serious people took it, but it was enough of a sort of cultural sensation that people made video game parodies of it. Like a regular guy, he dabbles in whatever occult imagery, as one normal guy does, I guess. Not really, but he was always sort of, that was going on. Hey, can we call your family? Do you have people around? Or just their doctor's recommendations. And in a way, it's like, this, and I know this because of my involvement in the security industry. Mostly said that the maintenance man who discovered the body didn't, or it's like that, the helicopter out. I'm amazed that I can understand why to kind of go back to what you were saying about
list. We'll talk about the 6 million or
right.
And it was fine for a while, but now I'm starting to see kind of hole that we've dug for ourselves.
Yes.
And that at some point we do we're just stuck in this mode of
but it was also, I think, because of some people, they sound like that's what a lot of us were doing, but it's like that got lost in transitional
camps that are, well, they're not necessarily like, we have to crack down on all dissident speech.
Worth anything anyway by the time we retire. Like the only currency that's going to, where I meet the most new people is at the parkour park. So I'll bring up like questions or whatever. I'll be like, well, have you tried putting your foot down? Frustrated that these things keep invading our lives everywhere we go, and I don't know what to do.
And one of the frustrations of our times is actually, I think,
you can't see the visuals.
Version of Alex Jones to do that. This other probes the censorship by just putting up with it. Now this attack is thousands of times the magnitude of all previous operation using a damn subversion of the total takeover. We try to adapt global social score to security agencies blocking Trump's resistance of the program. Emergency situation. I have been chosen for destruction because I brought you this information and have been ramming it out as much as I can. They want to double use me as they always do in any complex system of mathematical deception where every angle of my good is an insincere person in the straw man. I'm a person that cares about life and children and is against these wars. And so they make me a herder of children. They're actually censoring all of you to make a debate about Alex Jones. Break you free from this paradigm. I have given you the transmission. Now break free.
Yeah, it's a little creepy. I'm posting it in the chat. For
I feel my beyond this is something that's crossed my mind. And you know, is that?
And it can feel like a waste too. If you like, I never expected to gain any sort of traction on TikTok or anything like that. Like, but once years or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Red Fane? He jumped in here and hasn't deactivated his mic. Maybe he can't figure out.
And on the other hand, you know, I will say that a lot of what
is that you're going to fixate your mental attention to. I guess so. Like
to embody and radiate. If you're a man, man also have a reincarnation in that and karma in that conception. So it's obviously a different worldview.
You don't want to treat it like it's a kind of ATM slot.
And everything is about was when I was a kid, where it was more innocent and
we're meant to interact with the world and we're meant to be there for the people around us. And
Jesus comes in.
Yeah. Right.
Out there. But just
yeah, I don't altogether recommend. What do you think about
that I should just follow for now, you know, instead of trying to pick and choose, take issues, then you're at least in a better position to understand
we are, you know, as usual, we're always kind of backpedaling. At least
became more and more ridiculous. And
I don't know, it like some kind of political group, Canada First, normal stuff. They're just selling merch.
Yeah.
Very similar stuff to, and I've heard that she's from Canada. Got professionals. I don't know.
Hello, number one, to put Canada first. Number two, to put Canadians first.
Canada First
Canada
party.
First, Canadian first.
Yeah, Canada First, Party of Canada. We're gonna put Canada first and Canadians first. You know, it's like, what did you even?
All right, thank you.
And now look how fast
I'm not here on behalf of we the people. So my name's irrelevant. It's what you call putting them on notice.
Commit to. Okay, now somewhere else too, where there may be
history by the next regime. Many of them may be posthumous. They will hold these kind of trials.
Just once, look, you are becoming oath breakers. And how do you justify yourself? Then once this started to play, it was only ever retired people posting pictures of, hey, I served for 25, but you know, so far there's nothing to indicate that that's the case. This guy's a marksman. There's nothing to indicate that that's the case. And so, okay, so yeah, you're going to say, like, who's to say that this isn't a honeypot? Who's to say that this isn't just the way that the police are going to investigate and purge their own, because they set up this side organization? I most certainly have no clue. I have no clue.
Yeah, and it'll be similar to
tie that into all these cyber attacks. And I don't see, like, she's got 16,000 followers on tele create some kind of uniform and because so long as they couldn't be co-opted, because what would happen is one that came to my mind will occur that aren't just like kind of open end.
666. Did I do it wrong? I don't know. Go down. Okay, maybe I did it wrong. Okay, I'm misremembering it, I think.
Okay, and then send me something if there's anything compelling. But I remember, if there is this book, this ancient book that a large portion of the world recognizes to be prophecy, be literal. I think it'll be more than just symbolic works and thoughts. Anyway, this video, it's
a global ID implant called the Mark of the Beast we have been covering for some years now, and how it relates to cryptocurrency and blockchain. and its role in helping global rollout of the ID 2020 project.
That is just an individual ID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to that Deleuzian concept of the individual. So all of your scores will be on this.
2020 for the Ten Horns regions, the Catholic core center party that helped form the Nazi Party. The Pope also counts European Command and NATO. The European Union was established as a reform of the Roman Empire. The Vatican would crown the Holy Roman Emperor to be the sword bearer on behalf of the empire. You see here the Roman standard in the background, which
vaccines work, or supposedly work. I have to caveat that with Clown Wizard. But the way that vaccines...
All right. But again, I blame our institutions just as much. It's like
for a new global political authority to manage over the world's economy that sprung from Pope Francis's Laudato Si on sustainable development. In the book Integrated Global Models of Sustainable Development Volume 2, edited by Akiri Anishi in 2009, on page 107, it details these 10 regions. Taking into consideration that the climate change issue is of genuine... Creating Electronic United Nations, EUN. Paris Climate Pact in December 2015 was a historical success mechanism.
I'll go for a walk around the block and I'll come back and she'll either be there or the stuff will be gone. I'm going to stop recording now. See, premises, I just live like right up there. They're just around the corner. See if we can get a look here.
So I'm going to skip ahead a bit. It's like on a phone or around, he thinks that because they're stalking him and they're all coordinating together to stalk him. Trouble and coordinate this many resources together to them guy. Behaving organically. However, I think that can be solved by the fact that...
See the hand signal? Sorry? It is, isn't it?
Guy. Now, what I was considering was a guy like this who's very obviously...
Actually.
So do you know how the Spartans did their... with the...
This guy here too, my car's here. So this guy here, this guy is suspicious as fuck. He's just sitting here, eh? You can see right here. See out here, he was standing out here first just staring at me. I didn't really think.
One went that way, and one comes this way, both with their sirens on. So they just fucking...
Out of a science fiction film, but in fact is now technology beamed into their houses. Ringing noises put in their ears. People have been given cancer. This is not a joke. This is not science. People in sunglasses following up why this has happened and why this is going on. Perhaps we are being targeted because they see us as nuisances. People who will stand up and do it. We can all send texts, arrange to meet someone at a time.
Pretty much steeped in conspiracy culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these are people who...
So that app exists...
For the SkyTrain.
Well, get too conspiratorial here, and not that I want to be lying. However, always, whatever, 95% lie, that's really critical or whatever. I don't know what sort of criteria that they're going to use to choose what advertisements to use and what not to. Objected to something, and I don't know how far it reaches. And where
environment is actually a fake in this way.
Right.
I was seeing this. I was reading this thing the other day about Elon Musk, but Elon Musk's story is just the story of
pain onto people from the sky,
targeted or direct in that sense. The fact that's taking place.
Maybe the one in Vancouver was an offshoot of it. They have fly
minivan. Entering the vehicle. My workday involves physically following a target or person of interest without he or she knowing that they're... We're jumping off house line. Surveillance is not for everyone. It is not a 9-to-5 job. Target is going north on Canning.
Okay, I see her.
It takes patience, flexible sense to complete often long, complex operated by CSIS and Canadian law.
On synthetic sound between Satan.
My work is unique and exciting. It has stretches of long idle moments and bursts of adrenaline in between.
Target is walking north off St.
Even the most...
And Sacramento in the west on location. I'm on location. Target heading towards the airport. Vehicle running a individual.
With his Joker video.
This represents kind of... Actually, I'm not exactly a libertarian. Is that... It's kind of getting... You look at...
I did. They're punishing me. They're trying to torture me. Putting Snickers into their mouth. You just have to stop. Like, you have to replace it with something else, I think. You have to somehow intervene into the... Like, I just substitute it with a new, better habit. It's hard to just... nature abhors a vacuum kind of thing. So you can't just kind of stop yourself from thinking, but just focus on...
And I'm not sure what it was that it was like being around. And during that period in my life, it was like, I'm not a particularly violent person. Come to with this show too is everything that started out as an ironic joke has more or less, and they very quickly find that
I've got it. Like, I don't need anything in this moment.
let's call the show.
Definitely check out the stream.